So in this video I'm going to explain what all of the roof rack weight limits are and the car roof weight limits, and how to calculate how much you can actually carry on your roof rack. Now I've got emails from readers about this. There's a lot of buzz around the internet, so that's why I'm doing this video, but in fact it's not a new issue. I've been writing about it in the 4-Drive handbook ever since the first edition, and I've written articles since, as have several other people. Anyway, let's get into it. So the main question we're going to be looking at here is how much can I carry on my roof rack, and the calculations to get you there. Now this advice applies to all types of roof rack, be that a simple cross rails like this or full-on full-length roof rack. Okay, so there's a 4-step process to figuring this stuff out. One is you've got to find the car roof limits. Second, you find the weight of the roof rack. Third, you find the roof rack carrying capacity limit, and fourth, you subtract the roof limit from the rack weight, and that gives you your payload. That's basically the process. I'm going to run through some background, and then I'm going to do a worked example so it all becomes really clear. Alright, so what are the car roof limits? Now there's actually 3 ratings you've got to look at. One is the static limit, which is how much weight the car's roof can take when it's not moving. The second is the on-road, otherwise known as the dynamic limit, which is obviously when the car is actually moving, and of course that's going to be less. Now that's going to be less for 2 reasons. First of all, when the car goes over any form of bump or around a corner, it places extra stress on the roof, and in fact the entire car, as opposed to just moving statically. That's one reason. The second reason is that placing a lot of weight high up on the roof is very bad for vehicle dynamics and handling. So even if the roof was strong enough, then manufacturers will actually say, okay, you can't put quite as much up on the roof as the roof can handle, because of the effect on the car's handling. And the third one is the off-road limit, which is the same as on-road, except of course you're driving in an off-road situation. So we'll come on to those later on. I put this one in red because that's the one you're likely to find. You're unlikely to find static, and you're very unlikely to find off-road. I'll explain why that is. Okay, so where do you find the limits? Well, look in your owner's manual. That's the first place. If you're lucky, they'll be on the car maker's website. Some car makers are really good about putting lots of specs up there. Well done, Toyota, for example. Others are pretty awful. And just like that here, why do they keep putting the bore and stroke of engine up there? It's the most useless information possible to just about anyone for any car buying decision, yet you'll find bore and stroke for the engine, but you don't find roof limits. Anyway, we ran over. You'll also find a maximum car rating. Now, that might vary from vehicle to vehicle. I want to stress this about all types of limit, be that a towing limit, a roof limit, or whatever else. Those specifications and limits tend to be specific to a particular vehicle, a make, a model, year, and a trim level, engine and transmission. So you can't just look at one which is approximately close to yours and assume it's going to be the same, or look at, say, a vehicle in the US and say it's going to be the same as Australia. It just doesn't work like that. Always got to check your exact vehicle for any limit. Now, generally you find that older cars are stronger, or rather not so much stronger, certainly have a greater roof load limit. So the GU Patrol, for example, was 200 kilograms, as was older Land Cruisers. The Y62 is 100 kilograms. And again, not necessarily because the roof is weaker. I don't believe it is. I believe it's stronger because of the manufacturer's concern about dynamics. Now, typically you'll find out the roof load limit could be as little as 20 kilograms up the way to 200 kilograms. Normally you're looking at about 40 to 125. Anything over 100 kilograms on a modern vehicle is pretty unusual. Now, again, there's normally one value given. That's usually the on-road value, but we also want to look at the off-road and the static as well. So that's where you find out. Okay, now, slight diversion here, but I don't want anyone to get confused with crash ratings. Now, the IIHS over in the USA do some really good work, and they actually crush the roof of a vehicle with this apparatus here, and what they're looking for is that they're going to crush it to 5 inches, 127 mil, and they're looking for it to take more than 4 times the weight of the vehicle in terms of force to do that. Now that's nothing to do with a roof load rating at all, but I have seen people sort of think it is, so that's why I'm saying ignore that testing for the purposes of roof load limits, nothing to do with it. Now, one point about utes and roof racks. The roof load limit you'll get from the manufacturer applies to the cab of the ute, not to the service body or the canopy at the back. For that limit, you'll need to contact whoever makes the canopy or the service body. Another point is that if you have a roof rack on the back of the ute, be that a canopy or service body, it must not be also attached to the cab of the ute. The reason is that the cab of the ute moves independently to the service body / canopy at the back, and if you connect them together, you'll create stress. So this ARB example you see here extends over the cab of the ute, but it is not actually attached to the cab of the ute, it's only attached to the canopy. Okay, so you're unlikely to find an off-road limit, and why is that? Well, here's why. What is off-road? Okay, it's so variable. Are we talking about just driving down a beach, which obviously doesn't, not going to stress your roof rack very much, you're not going to be going that fast and it's fairly smooth, or are we talking about, 500 kilometres worth of corrugations? So there's all sorts of factors which go into it. You've got vibration, you've got shock loading. If you're going to be driving through rocks and just coming off a rock ledge, that will obviously add shock load to it. Your distance travelled, 1 kilometre down a dirt road, very different from 1,000. Your weight distribution. One important point about roof racks is you have to distribute the weight evenly. You can't say, okay, we can put 80 kilos up there, it's all going to go in one corner. It doesn't work like that. All limits assume a equal or even weight distribution across the rack. And also your suspension and tyres. Let's say you've got two vehicles, one of which you're both going down the same corrugated dirt road. One's going to drive at 70 k's an hour, tyres at 22 psi, and it's got really good suspension. The other's going to do 120 k's an hour and its tyres at 45 psi and suspension's worn. Which one's going to place more stress on the roof rack? I think we know the answer. And your driving style, so again, just how fast you go and how rough you are of the vehicle. So it's kind of hard to say, in fairness to manufacturers and everyone else, what off-road actually is. There is agreement definitely that you have to reduce it, but without knowing exactly the nature of it, of your off-roading, it's hard to say. So however, we do have a rule of thumb here, which is 50 to 80% for off-road use. Now, I've arrived at that figure by talking last like 15, 20 years worth of automotive technical research that I've done, talking to different people, looking at things and going, okay, that seems to be about a good figure there. So obviously go more towards the 50% if you're going to be doing a lot of corrugated work and dropping off rock ledges, but if you're just going to drive along the beach, you can go up towards 80, maybe even 100% of the load. Okay, now let's talk about finding the rack weight. Now, this should be fairly easy. You should just be able to go to the rack manufacturer's website and plug in whatever rack you're looking at and it should come up. Well, unfortunately it's not. So if any rack manufacturers are watching this video, could you please fix up your websites and create a decent calculator? Or I might create one for my own website to go with the towing and the tyre calculators so that it's a bit easier to find this information. So you're looking at the weight of the rack, and that has to include fittings, because this rack here doesn't include the feet and the rails to go on it. So whatever fittings or feet, whatever else you need, they have to be included in the weight of the rack. Really important. And normally it's around 30 to 50 kilograms for alloy racks, 50 to 100 for steel. Now, point here, steel racks in my opinion are just too heavy. I think they really ought to be all melted down and made into something more useful, because by the time you look at a weight of a rack, it's just crazy weight. It really needs to be aluminium or alloy. So steel is too heavy. Now, don't forget your accessories, because you buy your rack and then you might want a jerry can holder, high lift jack holder, whatever it is. They weigh something and they need to be factored in as well. Okay, now we're talking to the rack limits now, which is how much weight the rack can actually hold. And again, you should be able to just go to the manufacturer website and find out. Really not that simple. One from Yakima here, they actually have it listed on their site, a few others do. Now for the off-road limit, I went to Rhino Rack site and they actually have some guidance. They've basically say divide by 1.5. So if the rack can take 100, then off-road you go to 66. Now again, that is a rough rule of thumb, because what does off-road actually mean? It means different things to different people at different times. So again, this is all just general guidance here. We're running through the principles to allow you to use those principles and figure it out for yourself. Now for the static load, the general rule of thumb is that you can go to 3 times the on-road or dynamic load. So for example, let's say that you had a rack or a vehicle roof load limit of 100 kilograms, you could multiply that by 3 and that would probably be okay as your static load. So if you've got a rooftop tent, for example, obviously once you and someone else gets in it and everything else, then that's going to go way above 100 kilograms, but working on that 3 rule, that should be okay. And obviously you won't go driving around of people inside the rooftop tent. That would be an exceptionally bad idea. Okay, now there are also exceptions to the rule. So this is from ProRack here. They say, look, their clamp mount systems are not to be used with RTTs. So again, this just comes down to the fact you've got to be careful about all components in the system of a rack and make sure it takes the weight which you think it's going to take. Okay, so let's go through the worked example then. And again, that was we find the car roof limits, we find the rack weight, and we find the rack limit, and then we subtract the roof limit from the rack weight. Now we're going to use a Ford Everest for this, and this is what I got from the owner's manual, which is available online. A lot of car manufacturers have the owner's manual online. You can look that up, and often you find a lot more useful information here than you do on the website, which again just has the bore and the stroke of the engine for some unknown reason. Anyway, this is on the owner's manual, and what it says is that there's actually 3 different ratings for the Everest, which is not unusual. It's like towing ratings, right? They do tend to vary depending on the model of the vehicle, the year, and all sorts of other things. Anyway, for a 17-inch wheel vehicle, be it front 4-wheel drive or 2-wheel drive, that's 100 kilograms. But if you go to 20-inch in a 2-wheel drive, that's 60 kilograms. But 20-inch in a 2-wheel drive with a moonroof, it's 30 kilograms. 4-wheel drive with a moonroof is 80 kilograms. So you've actually got 3 different roof ratings for the Everest here, and that just goes to show you've got to be really specific about your exact vehicle and everything else. Okay, so we're going to run with the 100 kilogram limit because, you know, 17-inch wheels are what you want for off-road, as high profile as possible. Now, one point about the car roof limit is that comes out of the payload. So the payload on this vehicle is 683 kilograms, and what that means is that if you load your roof up to 100 kilograms, and that is load including the rack, then you've got to subtract that out of your payload. So you put 100 kilograms on the roof of your Everest, the payload on the rest of the vehicle drops down to 583 kilograms. Okay, now we've got to find the rack weight, and again we can just go to the website for that. I have in this case selected the Pioneer system from Rhino Rack, and they sell that as a kit, which is the platform and the legs, but in order to get the weights I had to go to the components. So that is 21.7 kilograms. The weight on these is not listed, I've just guessed it's half a kilogram each. So I'm going to multiply that for 2 kilograms. That gives me a total roof rack, I'm just going to round it up to 24 kilograms there. So that's how I've calculated that. Okay, then we go to the limit. Now, the limit here, again, looking up on their website, that's up to 80 kilograms. And these legs here, from what I can work out, appear to be a limit of 50 kilograms a pair or 100 kilograms for 4. And again, this is all stuff you can do yourself, but it does help to check it with your roof rack dealer as well, just to be on the safe side. You do not want to be making mistakes with these. So you've got to choose the lower out of the 2 limits. So if the legs can handle up to 100 kilograms, but the platform is only good for 80, then you've got to run with 80. Okay, now let's get into the actual mass and figure out how much we can actually carry. So here's the 100 kilogram car roof load limit, and there's our 24 kilogram rack weight, and that means we subtract one from the other and we can take 76 kilograms of load. However, can we? Because we've then got to look at the rack limit. As it happens, the rack limit is 80 kilograms. So the limiting factor is actually the car roof limit, not the rack limit. If the rack limit was only 70 kilograms, then we'd only be able to put 70 kilograms up on the car's roof, despite the fact that the roof actually had room for 76. So that is the way it works. It's very similar to towing weights, but it's not even quite as complex as that. By the way, if you're unsure about towing weights, we've got a heap of videos on that, so please watch those. I go through all of that in detail. Okay, so we've got a 100 kilogram car limit, 24 kilograms on the rack gives us 76, and because the rack itself, the platform and everything else is good for at least 80, then we're okay, we can put 76 up there. Now that's for on-road dynamic. Now let us look at the off-road. Now this is where it becomes a little bit murkier then. So the advice from Rhino-Rack is to divide by 1.5 for off-road. Now there is no advice that I can find from Ford for that, but what I'm going to do is simply apply the same logic that Rhino-Rack used for their roof rack system to the roof of the Ford Everest. So that means that there's our nominal 100 kilogram limit, but in fact it's actually going to come down to 66 because I'm just going to divide it by that 1.5. Now the weight of the rack remains at 24 kilograms, so that means that we've got 42 kilograms we can go for off-road. Now if we take their 80 kilogram limit here, we divide that by 1.5, the same ratio, we can put up to 53. So again, good design there. The roof load is actually limited by the Everest's roof load limit as opposed to the rack limit, and that's the way that it should be. Okay, now also don't forget the brackets. So again, just going through Rhino-Rack's website there, LED light bracket is 1 kilogram. LED lights have just gone for 5 kilograms on that. High lift jack holder is 2 kilograms. Obviously high lift jack's going to be about 13 or 14 as well. Jerry can, 3 kilograms. When you're doing weights, there's not much good news when it comes to weights, but one bit of good news is that a litre of petrol or diesel actually weighs less than a litre of water. Not by much, by sort of 80–90%, but it does help a little bit. But then you've got to factor the weight of the jerry can in as well. So the total for that is 11 kilograms. So that's sort of the stuff you just got to keep factoring in. Okay, now this is the sort of things you need to be putting up on your roof rack, light bulky stuff, and the best example of that is bedding. So things like your mattresses, your sleeping bags, some of your personal bags, that sort of stuff. I have put a tyre up there, but there's no rim in it, and the reason for that is I've got the tools to be able to swap a tyre in and out, so I just save myself a bunch of weight, and you can even put things inside the tyre as well. Okay, so let's summarise it with some advice here, because there's been a lot of detail in this and a lot of calculations. So that's about as simple as it gets. It is like anything to do with four-wheel drive towing weights, it is fairly complex. So number one is find your exact car's roof limit. Again, if you've got a two-wheel drive Everest with a moonroof, that's a different limit to a four-wheel drive Everest without, and whether you've got 17 or 20-inch tyres makes a difference as well. Buy the lightest and smallest roof rack possible. You are not dealing with a lot of weight up, a lot of limit up there, 100 kilograms, right? So if a rack weighs 20 kilograms versus 25, that's 5% of your load gone. Fit according to the car and rack instructions. Now this is important. So in the case of the Everest, for example, and other manufacturers are the same, they have specific guidance about where the legs should go, where the legs should not go, and they understand their car because they designed it, they know where the stress points are. So pay attention to that advice if it exists, and also pay attention to the advice from the roof rack manufacturer as well. And that way you stand the least chance of damaging your roof rack, and also you're going to be best covered for warranty. Okay, light bulky items up top, we kind of covered that, and distribute weights evenly. That's really important. Again, you can't put all of your weights in one corner of the rack. It's got to be as evenly spread out as possible, and generally you want to bias it towards the front, because with most four-wheel drives, that once loaded, there's a massive weight bias towards the back, and you want to try and get some of that weight forwards if you can. And from a vehicle dynamics point of view, the more central a weight is, the better. In other words, it handles better or more safely. Do not exceed limits. Now, do not exceed any limit. You've got to go with the lowest limit, be that the rack limit, the roof limit, the component of the roof rack, whatever it may be. You can use this video as a guide to help you calculate it all. So thanks for watching. I hope you found this video useful. Got any questions, drop them in the comment, and please like, subscribe, etc. Stay tuned and see what else needs explaining. Thanks. Bye.